Hey guys, I'm Nikki. Thank you for joining us on our first ever video from Cake Corner. Today we are going to be making a marble cake. Now a few of you have asked me how we get the perfect rise and the perfect turnout. So that is really what we're going to be focusing on today. And I've got a few tips and tricks for you to make sure that you get it right every time. Let's get started. Right guys, first things first, you need to preheat your oven. Pop it on around 190 degrees and it'll warm up while we're getting our cake ready. So today with our marble cake, I'm going to be using a loaf tin. There are two types of tins that you could use, one like this, which has folded edges. I do find them a bit tricky, and as you can see, when they get washed, they can become a little bit rusty. So we are not going to be using this type of tin today. My choice of tin would be one like this. No creases, no edges, ready for the perfect turnout. Now you've got your tin, the next thing that you need to do is get yourself some unsalted butter. I don't use spread, I don't find that it holds very well, but butter seems to stick really well. And the next thing that you need is some sort of brushing implement. I like to use this because I can pop it through the dishwasher. If you don't have anything like this at home, you can use some kitchen towel. Lastly, you'll need a little bit of flour. I've poured a little bit more than I need out today, and we're going to use that to sprinkle inside of our tin. So, you want to get your butter and put a small amount on whatever implement you're going to be using. So as I'm using this today, I'm just literally going to rub it onto the butter, like so, and then get my tin and start to spread it around. You only need a really, really thin layer, and this is just to help the flour stick. And there we have it. So this is ready for our flour. Now make sure you have it in all of the edges, right in the creases. This does work for any tin, including pop-out tins. So be confident, as long as you've got the butter everywhere, your cake's not going to stick. Now the next thing you want to do is pop a little bit of flour into your tin. There we go. Next up, give it a bit of a shake. You want your flour to be all over the butter, so there is no part of the tin left uncovered. And there we have it. It might look a little bit rough around the edges, but I promise once you get your cake mix in there, it's going to turn out perfectly. Okay, so now our tin is ready to go. It's time to move on to the cake. The first thing you want to do is add 200 grams of butter into your bowl. Next up, 180 grams of caster sugar. And for good measure, a little add of natural extract. Pop it in the mixer if you have one. If not, you can beat it by hand. You just want to make sure that it's really, really well mixed. There's no lumpy bits or grainy bits in there. Once that's light and fluffy, you need to get 3 eggs. I always put them into a separate jug because I have had a few rotten eggs before. So I like to make sure I crack them out of my cake mix just in case they're off. And the next thing to do is give them a quick whisk with a fork. That gets a lot of air into the eggs, which means there's more air going into your cake. So there we have it, a nice fluffy mixture ready for our eggs and flour. You want your 3 large eggs and 250 grams of plain flour. The plain flour has no raising agents in it, so we are going to have to add some baking powder to make sure that we really get lots of air in our cake for that rise. For your last bit of flour, you want to also add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder. You also want to add 2 tablespoons of milk. Sift in the rest of your flour and give it its final mix. once your cake mix is all mixed together, you want to get your tin and place approximately 2/3 of the mixture into your tin. So that is the vanilla section of our marble cake made. Time to make the chocolate one. So to your remaining cake mix, you want to add 20 grams of caster sugar, 3 tablespoons of milk, and 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And now you just want to fold it in. Now that's ready, it's time to add it to our tin. So you want to get a tablespoon, and what we're going to do is spoon the mixture in a line down the middle. There we go. Now we want to get a fork and we're going to swirl it through the mixture to make the marble effect. There we go. Now that's going to go in the oven for 45 to 55 minutes. Once your cake's in the oven and your timer is set, it's time to turn the temperature of your oven down. The reason that we have it slightly higher is because when you open the oven, you lose a lot of heat initially. So what we want to do is reduce that risk, as that can really affect the rise of your cake. So we're going to turn it down to 175 and leave it until it's ready. So that's my cake been in for 45 minutes now. Very, very quickly I'm going to get a knife and just gently push into the centre and take it out again. If it doesn't come away clean, which it hasn't quite, it means it's not quite ready. So I'm going to pop it back in for another 5, maybe 8 minutes, and then take it out, retest it, and it should be ready to go. Okay, so the cake is ready, it's out of the oven, it's time to turn it out. I know this is a stressful time for most people, but I like to leave my cakes so that the tin is touchable before I turn them out. I find that if you try and do it when you're wearing oven gloves and things, it just gets messy. So, we're ready to go. Moment of truth. Just like that. You can see we've got really nice edges on there. So I'm just going to flip it over because it's only slightly warm. And now we're going to leave it to cool.